Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ted Santos, and it is Friday. And you know what we do on Fridays? We sit back and we do a little bit of YouTube and chill. So join me, gather around, and we are going to have a conversation that's had, but we're going to talk about what most people don't talk about. And on Fridays and YouTube and Chill, we like to talk about the intimacy of relationships. We like to get into, slide into intimate conversations about relationships. Love talking about sex, not always about sex, but this is Fridays, YouTube and Chill. Sit back. We're going to talk. We're actually going to get into a little bit of sex here today. There are lots of sexual implications around this topic. So if you haven't smashed that like button, smash it now. Smash it as you come in. Uh, Subscribe, hit the bell so that you can receive notifications of my videos, and share this because this is one of those conversations that I love. I love taking a perspective that's not commonly discussed. And sometimes it's the one that everyone knows about. It's like the dead elephant in the room, but no one will say it. Here on YouTube and Chill, we say it. We say all the things that are unspeakable. And so tonight, we are going to talk about older women with younger men. And I always have topics, main topics, subtopics. So I was thinking, I was thinking specifically about older single mothers. So are older single mothers good target practice for younger men? And the subtopic, which would make people feel more comfortable, is why do younger men date older women? We can talk about the cougars, and women can say, I am woman, hear me roar, and I'm powerful and liberated, and I can date who I want. What is it really what women think it is? And so I really want to talk about older single mothers. Are they target practice for younger men? Is that what really happens in this world of dating? So we're going to address it. I have a couple of clips. You guys know I love sharing, sharing the screen, and we'll look at some articles. But I've got a rather entertaining one, and we're going to look at some cougars, and we're going to meet who they call their cubs and how that all works. Very interesting to hear the interactions. So we're going to be looking at the intimacy of relationships between younger men and older women. What's really going on under the sheets with them? I see you in the house, Lynette. Yes, yes, yes. So what do we have? Single mothers are single for a reason. If she left the dude because he was a piece of crap, she still let him smash. If he left her, she had an idea that it might happen one day, but was in denial. Interesting. See, and that's actually an interesting point to make, right? So if you're a single mother, so let's take a step back. My show is never about bashing women. What I think is there's this huge disparity of what women see as reality, and then there's the reality of what men are actually thinking. And it's almost like women don't want to hear, they don't want to bridge that gap. They want to just keep believing that men are horrible and men are not smart and they think with their little head. But when you really ask men what's going on with them, and some women do, and I think the problem is a man will answer and the woman immediately cuts him off in the middle of his answer, so she never gets to hear what he has to say. It's almost like she believes what she has to say is more important. So women miss out on understanding what men are thinking. So this comment that if you're a single mother and you were with a guy and he was trash, the guy was no good, yet you still had sex with him and you allowed him to impregnate you. Guys are looking at that. They are assessing you with that. And women don't want to believe men actually think that way. You think it's just the trash guys. The trash guys don't care if you're a single mother. The guys who really have their head together, they do care. Because if someone else didn't want you, why is that? Now, if the guy got rid of you, it's the same thing, like he's saying. And a lot of times women know that if they get with a guy who's got his head together, like he's a valuable man, he's a quality man. I'm not saying he's a nice guy. No, he's a quality man. He's valuable. He's valuable in society. He's valuable in relationships, any relationship, friends, business. There are lots of women who know they cannot hold that kind of guy, and they may attempt to get pregnant by him on purpose, but yet she's still left to be a single mother. See, we always make it seem like women are the victim for being a single mother. So let's address this. Let's address the ugly elephant that's in a room. If you're a single mother, what a man knows at any age is that you're a poor decision maker. The first decision you made was to get into a relationship with a guy who was not good for you, and you stayed in it. That's the first poor decision. The second poor decision is you allowed the wrong guy to impregnate you, married or not. And if you're not married, that's just a third poor decision. You carried before you were married. So if you're a single mother who never married, you chose the wrong guy, you allowed the wrong guy to impregnate you, and you allowed him to impregnate you before marriage. Now, if you have children by different fathers, it's just the cycle is there, right? You rinse and repeat all over again. And if it's with the same guy, were you thinking that a second child was going to save the relationship? So as a man is thinking, do I want to invest my life, my whole psyche into a woman who's making poor decisions? So what do you do with this woman? She's hot, she looks great, she has a beautiful body. She articulates well, she speaks well. Do you want to pass that up? Is what a guy will think. But he knows this is finite. He knows. And if anyone is asking, so where would I start older woman? I would say, unless you guys think otherwise, I would say when a woman hits 35, she's now classified as an older woman. So if you're a guy who's 25 and she's 35, you're going to see her as an older woman. I would. Even if I was 29, I'm still looking at that 35-year-old woman as being an older. she's like on the other side, right? The wall. And I've seen some 40-year-old women who are hot, but still they're older women. And I've been 27 and met a really hot 40-year-old woman. And she came down to visit me in DC, and her friends talked her out of it, told her her friends said, "This is a horrible idea. He's 27, you're 40." She had never married, she had no children, so this was a little different. She wasn't a single mother. But her friends said they talked sense into her head and convinced her that life would be miserable with me because she would always be looking behind over her shoulder for some younger woman to who would be competing or replacing her. So she backed out. Her friends convinced her that I was bad news. But when I was 19, I met a 36-year-old woman who had a couple of children. And she told me she had an 18-year-old son. And she said, "My son might have a problem with you." And before I tell you how I responded, that's one thing that I've noticed when a woman is older, typically, it's not always, typically, she's less likely to play the games, the cat and mouse game, a lot less likely. You can be a lot more direct. Also, when I was 19, I met someone who was 32, and I remember, uh, the first time she came to my apartment, we sat down. Actually, she sat on my bed. I laid on the floor. A, I wanted her to feel safe. And I had this conversation about, are you on birth control? Blah, blah. We did that whole thing. And I told her, and she was a single mother. She had been married twice, and she was divorced twice, and she had children from both marriages. And I told her, if you bring me any head trash or drama, like most women do, this relationship is over. It's over. And at some point she did, and I kept my word. But I always knew that this was going nowhere. And I had a great relationship. I even say I had an extraordinary relationship with that woman. With that other woman who had an 18-year-old son, I had seen her around, and she and I were talking, and it was interesting that there were no games. Her ability to express interest in me was uninhibited, and that was good. Hell, I was 19, and she let me know she was 36, and she asked my age. She told me hers, and I assured her. Actually, I never told her my age. I just assured her that I was older than her 18-year-old son, and he wouldn't have a problem with me. And she said, "Okay." Uh, but I actually I could never close the deal on it. I actually met a 27-year-old woman who was single, and that was my preference. So, um, which goes more to show that, even if I'm choosing an older woman, the single mother comes with too many complications. So I chose the woman who had no children. Yeah, and Tony G, yeah, good point, right? So this woman who was 36, she had an 18-year-old son. So clearly she had her son at a young age, 18. And she was hot. She was beautiful in the face. Her body was just gorgeous. And you say either way, older women making themselves available to younger men doesn't happen by accident. They'll lure them with sexuality, exploit his instinct to smash and attempt to secure a provider. But yeah, I wasn't a good candidate for that one. I mean, I knew out the gate that there were limits. I just couldn't see myself with 19 and 36. What's going to happen in 20 years? Even when I was 19 and she was 32, and I just couldn't see that. In my mind, I was thinking I'm always going to be looking at younger women. So I just I enjoyed it for what it was. I really did. And when it was time to go, it's like you return your book to the library. You return it. It's got a date stamped on it. So, good points, Tony G. Big exclusive. I see you in the house. Imperator, good to see you. West Coast, I see you in there. What's going on? So, guys, let's make this a brutally blunt and provocative conversation that can never be ignored. Even the ladies should hear this conversation. They're going around saying uh, older women are having the time of their lives and they're dating younger men and they're winning. It's like they have no idea what we're really thinking. Oh, one of my friends is interesting. Interesting. So, wow, in his 20s and she's in her 40s and they're going to marry. I mean, I know that happens. I think the president of France has a wife who's much older than him. Yep, parents are usually not happy about this. Um, when I was the woman who was 32 had been divorced twice. She never met my parents, but she was surely nervous about meeting them. So you guys know I always have thoughts about these. So let me just share some of my thoughts. I'm going to get ready to show some cougars. Read a few more comments. Wow. So your friend was swooped up by a single mother, huh? He must be a smart guy. He must have a good future in front of him, and she's no dummy. Yeah, she swooped him up like a hawk, huh? And she'll give him whatever he wants. Now, Sarah, see, I mean, I'm thinking in terms of sex, right? So I think in terms of sex, women in their early 20s who are just not inhibited, and if you give them the space to just release themselves, there's a lot for them to show. A woman who's over 30 and been with a few guys may be carrying more baggage and may be more inhibited. What the advantage she has is that she's going to see the guy as possibly have been as the guy is less experienced or he's been with women who are less experienced, so she'll look at that as an advantage. So the big exclusive, that's you know I'm going to show a couple of interviews of older women, and sex is really a big deal. It is a way to reel a guy in. I mean, that woman I dated who was divorced twice. I was 19 when I met her. She was 32. My sex life was excellent with her. I mean, I could have any kind of sex I wanted with her. She just wouldn't do threesomes. That's not at all. But aside from that, she was way more open. So if a guy is not accustomed to that, yeah, he can be swept off his feet. But I mean, sex is really powerful. it's a great connector. And people underestimate the value of sex, but it's just unfortunate. Some people use it as a tool and they get married and they take it off the table. I mean, you guys have heard me say the statistic. Couples that have sex 4 times a week or more earn higher incomes and have more fulfilling relationships. So sex is just it's people talk about connection and chemistry, man. You have so many biochemicals going through your body keeping you together and making you believe this is love. So Tony G, he may have what's that? There's an old song called Whip Appeal. So she may have whipped it on him. And I assume she's being cooperative. She's making sure her children are uh, being good to him, unless maybe they're really young. Hey, the big exclusive, share this. Uh, Contact your friend, ask him to watch this show. I would suggest that. I want to have, I want to make, we're going to deal with some of the ugliness of this conversation. Yeah, Tony G. Yep. So a widow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It depends, right? So if she's a widow because he was a gangbanger, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Making poor decisions and being impregnated by the wrong person. If he had poor health to begin with, uh, and you made children with a guy who knowingly had poor health, so it's even for a widow, it's not that cut and dry. But I do get what you're saying, Tony G. Yes. So imperator, even if they don't want the fathers in the children's lives, that's a poor decision because children need their fathers. There's all kinds of emotional trauma that happens when you do that. Any woman who's going around saying I can raise my children without the father is making a poor decision, is very selfish, and really doesn't care about the children and what they need. That's dangerous. If she's choosing a guy that she knows is going to be gone, he's a gangbanger, he'll be killed, he'll be in jail, or he's just irresponsible and she can just kick him to the curb, she's still making poor decisions because she's not even considering what the children need. Look at over 80% of inmates in prisons come from single mother households. I mean, the list of the most of the high school dropouts, most of the kids going through depression, all of this coming out of single mother households. Oh wow, interesting. Big exclusive. So he doesn't want to talk about it, huh? Yeah, when I yeah. So some women may be concerned that the family's looking at them as just taking advantage of their son just for sex. I mean, we're consenting adults. Parents think that on either side when their daughter's younger or their son is younger. We're we're having sex because we want to. Truth is never bashing. Exactly. Oh, interesting. Chic sauce. I have to look this word up now. see it's Hebrew. Is that maybe Yiddish? Gentile girl or woman. It's more for a woman for practice, right? It's more for a younger woman, starter wife. Mm. Right. Hey, you know what, PJ? Exactly. Good to see you in the house, PJ. So, right, when I mentioned I've dated quite a few women older, but I was 19, she was 32, she's divorced twice, and I was so blunt and direct with her whenever I wanted. And for me, that was freeing. I didn't have to talk to her like a little girl, and I had to be worried about hurting her feelings. And I even told her, actually, I would tell all women who are older, I would say, look, uh, whenever games start being played here, I have a problem with that. You're older than I am, so you should know better. So I should never have to correct your bad behavior. I don't want to ever have to do that. So I could be very firm and matter of fact about that. I like that. Lots of women, when you date women your age, they start their feelings are hurt and they'll want to argue about it. What's going on, Silent Lamont? Good to see you in the house, man. Hey Reggie, right? She tried to trap the wrong guy. So the other, the other is a woman. She's impregnated by the right guy, a really good guy, but she made poor decisions in how she dealt with him, how she handled him in the relationship, and she lost him. So now she's a single mother. So I'm saying if you're a single mother as a man, we're looking at that. We're looking at you were with someone. Why didn't you marry before you carried? Why didn't that guy want you? You had his child and he didn't want you. So you're coming out the gate and we're already looking at you as you've got high miles. And look, if you were with one guy for 10 years, which the woman who was 40 and I was 27, she had just come out of a 10-year relationship. So you figure between 30 and 40, she was with one guy. uh, I don't know if she had high miles before that. She lived in Italy for a couple of years. So, you know what women do when they go abroad. Uh, but if you're with a guy and you're a single mother, why didn't that guy want you? Like, why didn't he stay around? See, a lot of people think that, having children means that someone wanted you, but it's like, no. I mean, now you're just out here as a package deal, and I'm eventually financially liable for you and your children, whether we go out to eat, they're in my car, if we get married, like all these obligations. So these are problems. So why would I want to take a woman seriously who's bringing liabilities to the table? Additional liabilities. I mean, if you ask the average woman what makes her an asset instead of a liability, and she has to understand that assets bring money to the table, liabilities take money off the table. I had this big conversation in the clubhouse with women, and there were a few women who said women are liabilities. We do not come to the table bringing money to the table, and your job does not. Women see their money as her money, and a man's money is the couple's money. So if a woman is looking for a man to spend lots of money on her, that makes her a liability because that's taking money off the table. And now you have these other mouths, children, they need to be fed and clothed, housed, educated. Those are additional liabilities. So why would any intelligent man want to take on those liabilities in his life? And that's not even counting the time you have to dedicate to these children. That's if they're cooperative with the guy. What if they're not? So why would any intelligent man go out of his way and take a woman who made poor decisions and is carrying liabilities with her? How is a man going to see her as, wow, this is the most brilliant woman I've ever met and I've got to have her? Just look at the decisions she's made. Ah, yeah, can't wait. Come on, baby. Let's get married. Bring those little rugrats with you. This is what women need to understand. We are looking at this. Hey guys, I dropped my Cash App and PayPal. Your support is always appreciated. Yes, Silent Lamont. It's batting practice. Exactly. You want to swing that bat and do it with a woman who has experience so that when you get to the woman who's your age or younger, you are, you know, Rodeo Roger. You can ride that buck. You know what it's not your first rodeo. You're riding. Yeah, a silent Lamont. Yes, you know what? If a guy hasn't had a lot of sexual experience, an older woman can get. Yeah, depending on how, 25 by 25, a lot of guys may have done quite a few things by 25. By 20, yeah, I was just having some flashbacks. So, hey, Tony G, right, right. So you go, girl, get what you deserve, get that younger man, and also society. It's gross when older men smash younger women. That's funny. That is funny. What's going on, private? Good to see you in the house for a very private conversation. Okay, big exclusive. Yeah, be great if he came in here. Interesting. Wow. So he's cutting ties. Sometimes, so I've dated some older women who showed some signs of wanting to try and isolate me. Even some of my workouts, working out, like she freaked out. She was a very jealous woman. Yeah, PJ, I told them that straight. Create a problem, you're out. Yeah, hey Tony G, that's a good point. Sex doesn't happen in a vacuum, and that's why we're saying like sex is so powerful. It can really bond a couple, and if the woman is smart and is really allows herself to be vulnerable with a man, that really draws him in. I mean, if a woman is vulnerable with a man, you have the sense that like she's yours, like you have this. She's available to only you. I mean, that's really a secret weapon a lot of women have, and that's a woman can do all the crazy, freaky, wild stuff and be really disconnected. Well, she can do it, and it's fun and exciting. But when a woman just completely lets her guard down, man, like sticks her neck out, puts her head in a guillotine for you, and is completely vulnerable and is okay with whatever you do, That's different, man. Men will, that's a way to pull him in like a magnet. No arguing, no fight, cooperative. It's sex can be so powerful. What's going on, Naya? I see you coming from across the pond. So, hey, the big exclusive. So, reverting back to their 20s, um, that relationship showed me that no matter what age, and I've seen women older than that now. Uh, this is, I'll say, for any person, there are sides of us that are completely dominated by our younger selves, who could have been 5 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old. There are sides of us that come out. So I saw that woman act silly. I was, uh, I was surprised. I'm at this point now, and I'm 20. She's 33, and I'm watching her do these silly things, and I'm like, I thought I was never going to see this, but it doesn't matter. When they hit 40, they still have the same insecurities. Like, it's more of being human. So I can't say specifically that they try to go back and relive 20s. Um, but what I will say is, I it seems it seems that for all women, there's this tipping point. There's something that tips them to be overly emotional about something, and it doesn't matter how old they are. And as a man, and you're saying, "Hey, look, don't be so emotional." Even if they're like, they agreed to not do this, they will say, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I'm doing this." I've seen those also. So there's a tipping point. There's something that pushes a woman. It doesn't matter if she's 30, 40, or 50. Um, there's something that pushes them over to be overly emotional about something. And as a guy, you're like, "What are you doing? Like, why are we even having this conversation, or why are you responding this way?" So, Nias, we are having an interesting conversation. I'm about to share a couple of videos. The topic is are older single mothers good target practice for younger men? That's what we're talking about. And listen, that's not to be pejorative towards any woman. It's just, as guys, most of us are not thinking, "Hey, I'm 25. Look at that 50-year-old woman. Uh, she's hot, and that's my long-term woman right there." Most of us are not thinking that. I mean, we're probably mentally, if she's really 50, if she's 50 and hot, and I've seen a couple, we'll be attracted. Except once we find out she's 50, that is ugh, that could mess up some men's heads. It could make them proceed with caution, because the last thing they want to do is get caught up with a woman who they have no intention of going further beyond the bedroom. That's interesting, Tony G. They use what works, right? Behavior works. Yet feminism had them slit their own throats, slit their wrists while they're running a marathon. Um, behavior. So here's what I would say, that when you're a younger guy with an older woman, it's easier to call her on her stuff, especially if you establish up front, hey, you're older. We shouldn't have to go through certain things. That I would go with that. I'm with you because you're older, and there are certain things that I'm assuming are behind you, and you and I shouldn't have to go through the kind of drama that women put men through. And so the moment she comes up with drama, it's like, hey, look, why are you and I talked about this. You're older than me. Why are you doing this? We already addressed. Now she might get emotional, but a lot of times she will self-check herself, because most women don't want to be older in a relationship, and then they actually end up invalidating the very reason you're with them. Like, so you're with them partly because of their maturity, and if they're not presenting that, then it's like, why the hell am I, I can get this from someone younger than me, so why be with someone older? So they will self-check a lot faster if you remind them, but some of them won't. uh and it's because if they've been through a lot of dysfunction, it just won't matter, honestly. I've seen that also. And they don't realize that, like, they believe what they're doing is okay. They've just been through dysfunction, and when I cut that, I was like, look, you've been through too much, and I don't want to deal with that. It's not my responsibility. So interesting, Tony G. So that may be an accurate way to say it, right? So most men do not express themselves in a positive manner and be firm about it and be able to get the outcome. That's that's a major part of the reason why I do my shows. So I introduce alternative perspectives. You can try and physically intimidate a woman, and you can threaten her and all that, but then there's a way to talk to her that helps her understand that you are not playing. And she may say, you're talking to me like you're my father, or you're talking to me like I'm a child. And it's like, as long as you act like a child, I will talk to you. Like, I address you based on the way you present yourself. Stop acting like a child, and I'll stop treating you like one. And that's for a woman, my own age. They may not like that. So I've been brutal with women my age and being very blunt and direct. I've even heard that I was not so nice. So let's look at a couple of real life couples, and some of this is kind of funny. So we're gonna look at women who are dating guys who are 20 and 30 years younger, and you'll get to see the expressions on the guy's face. Uh, just ah, my words won't do it justice. Let's do a screen share. Hey, nice. Don't want to ignore what you're saying here. Let me get this. Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Don't react to everything. Sometimes there's misunderstandings, often a lot. So I have to read this. My view is that hanging out with older women is a waste of time. Very few have genuine knowledge or wisdom that you can learn from. If you want to learn something, go talk to their ex. I love that answer. Very good. So as you see, if you're on Instagram, you can't see it, but I'm gonna play a clip from Dr. Phil. You'll find it just as entertaining. If you want to see it, come on over to YouTube under Ted Santos, and you'll see that I am under the show "Are Older Single Mothers Good Target Practice for Younger Men?" That is the title we're addressing, and we are going to see if these older women have set themselves up for target practice.
Yes.
Okay. So bald guys just don't do it for you.
I'm sorry, gorgeous.
So Dr. Phil has a woman on the show. If you could see her, she's clearly overweight. She's 58 years old. And her boyfriend, they'll tell us in a second, he'll bring him out. But she said she's an overweight woman talking about she likes nice bodies and men with hair. Well, she said she likes men with hair. Bald guys don't work. And you know, most of you have seen Dr. Phil. He's what you would call bald.
You don't know that this isn't a solar panel for a sex machine. You don't know. I could be gearing this up. I drag her in here every day. She just.
That's right, baby.
Now, Pi says she gravitates toward young and hot men. So you're looking for the physical here, right? It's okay if they're smart, but you don't care if they're dumb.
Well, no, I love smart, but I'm a Libra, and Libras love beauty.
Oh,
Man, was that smooth? Was that he said? Do you don't care if they're smart? You're okay if they're dumb? And she she puts it on being a Libra that she likes beauty. So under the Fair Use Act, I am showing this for educational purposes only, to critique, to understand the subject matter of single mothers dating younger men. And for the record, I say single motherhood starts at 35. At 35 is when the women start to be candidates for complications in pregnancy. Life changes, the wall hits. A lot of women don't make it to 35 and still remain hot. A lot don't make it to 30 and remain hot. So let's see what else this woman has to say about how she likes beauty.
So I always sort of go towards the beauty.
I'm not saying Oleg is not bright. I've never met him. I don't know. He actually does seem like a bright guy.
Bright.
Find that 24-year-old Oleg on a dating website. Oleg
24. She's 58 and met him on a dating site. Check that out.
says he saw Pi's profile and he just had to reach out to her despite the 34-year age difference. Take a look.
Pi is very vibrant, very alive. I've always gravitated towards older women. Pi is the oldest woman I've dated. She does not feel like someone that's 58. When I hear 58 in my mind, it does portray a senior citizen. She is young at heart. I haven't been able to find the chemistry with women my own age. They're very distracted, very flaky. Pi has a lot of life experience, so I look to her as a mentor to some extent. I like to be taken care of by my woman. I like to be pampered. Pi takes care of. I like to be taken care of as a mentor to some extent. I like to be life experience, so I look to her as a mentor to some extent. I like to be taken care of by my woman.
So he's looking for it could be her business experience, her insight into people. But he said, I like to be taken care of by my woman. And at 24, it's probably not too likely that a 24 or 20-year-old woman is going to be taking care of him, especially the way a 58-year-old woman is. So what do we call it? Can a man be hypergamous? Is that the same? And yes, who said that? Imperator. She loves beauty. She needs a mirror. Tony G, you're getting triggered, fight or flight, right? So uh they're gonna bring him out. So let's hear what else he has to say.
I like to be pampered. Pi takes care of me. She caters to me. Society accepts older women with younger men as completely normal. I don't see why me and Pi can't be accepted as well. If someone says that someday you're gonna dump Pi for some younger girl, I simply tell them I'm living in the moment, I'm having fun, and nothing else matters.
Boom! Right there's where you need the atom bomb and the mushroom cloud, the explosion. He didn't say. I didn't say this.
Amen.
Well, if someone says that someday you're gonna dump Pi for some younger girl, I simply tell them I'm living in the moment, I'm having fun, and nothing else matters.
Living in the moment, having fun, and nothing else matters. So he's being taken care of. He's got a mentor. And he's having fun, living in the moment. Nothing matters. I mean, does that kind of sound like target practice? You know, I'm just practicing here. I can do all the things and find out what works with women, what doesn't work. It's a great way to explore. And you know, and if you're much younger, you have lots of wiggle room to make mistakes. They can be corrected by in a much older woman. But you can make mistakes and get away with it because she'll say, "Well, he's just younger," right? So um, it's that's practice, right? Target practice.
Amen.
Okay, so you're just in the moment, right? And so if you're having a good time right now, then you're not too worried about going forward.
Yeah.
So do you think you're likely to be with pumpkin pie here
I can answer
in
that.
10 years, or do you know or care?
I can answer that as well as I can answer what will the coin land on, heads or tails. I just wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Man, like smooth language, right? So you know, he responds to the questions. He answered him, but he answered without really giving an answer, a responsible answer. You know, hey, I don't know. It's like flip of a coin. You know, that's just the way life goes. I'm just living in a moment. I don't know. So he doesn't have to commit. And if you guys in Instagram could see her, you would understand. Uh, she calls herself Pi. She's built like a pie, actually.
And you're okay with that?
Oh, absolutely.
I normally say they have some things in common. I made a list. They both love to party and have a good time.
What's going on, country boy? So this is, look, guys. Maybe it was you, Imperator, or PJ. Someone said I should do a show on compatibility. Now, this is important because what they're going to talk about is what they have in common. It's nothing to do with compatibility. But look, you know, he's going to read them off, but this is what having things in common is all about.
They both love the entertainment industry. They both enjoy alternative music. Both are food fanatics and like to cook.
None of those things have anything to do with a relationship. Unless you're just playing around. Like you don't care. You're killing time and practicing to be better. So in a year, 2 years, I think they've been together a year. But you know, you get your target practice and you are become almost like Yoda when you get to the women who are your age. I mean, it could be a little frustrating when he goes back down to someone closer to his age because younger women can be so sensitive or maybe women are just more sensitive when they're with someone their age. Certain expectations.
All right, now Pi and Oleg may be living it up in their relationship, but Pi may end up paying a hefty price because she could be losing her best friend of over 15 years because of this love affair. Now, Pi's friend, Therese, is it Therese?
Therese, yeah.
She's going to join us next and tell us why she thinks she is deluding herself. We'll be right back.
Pi's close to 60 and he's 24. What could they possibly have in common? They're decades apart. I think Pi likes young guys because she has a mommy complex. No guy wants to date his mom.
Someone had asked me if I'm ever threatened by young, hot women that would come around Oleg and I. Absolutely not. If someone's with me, they're with me. I don't worry about anyone leaving me for a younger woman. If that's what they want to do, that's what they're going to do.
Well, we're talking about cougars and cubs, and I'm not talking about cats. I'm talking about older women and younger men. Now, we want to hear from you. Would you date someone considerably older or considerably younger? So go to Twitter, and if you say yes, sure, use the hashtag just a number. If you say no way, use the hashtag age matters. Okay? Now, 58-year-old Pi, 24-year-old Oleg have been in their cougar cub relationship now for 4 months. They say the 34-year age difference is completely irrelevant. They're happy together. They don't have any problems. But not everybody supports their love affair. Pi's best friend of 15 years, Therese, says she doesn't want to be there and have to pick up the pieces when Oleg breaks Pi's heart.
Hey, Tony G, yeah, absolutely. This guy is not taking ownership of this relationship. He could, he's using non-committal language. And look, if there are any women watching this and you don't understand what non-committal language sounds like from a man, this is a this is a great show to watch. You'll learn something if you didn't know. And for guys, well, I never promote being a player, but there are ways to speak to women and they will ignore it. Listen, all you guys in here, you hear the non-committal language, no ownership. You hear it. Everyone hears it. We know how it sounds. We know it when we hear it from a woman. Hey guys, if you haven't smashed that like button, smash that thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel, this is a great time to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell so that you will get notifications. And this is Friday, and we're doing YouTube and Chill, and we are taking on a somewhat ugly, socially unacceptable conversation. Unacceptable because society hasn't fully embraced the idea of older women with a younger guy. If you look at the pictures that I used for this show, I found a picture with an older woman sitting with a younger man, and the older woman has her hand on her cane. I mean, I cracked up when I saw that. But, we know most guys, if you're, no children and she's a single mother and she's 20, 30 years older and you want to have children, that woman is not a good choice. So most guys, we look at that and see, well, that guy's just getting his target practice. He's getting some experience so that when he decides that he wants to commit, he will feel like he has a better idea as to what he's doing. So let's hear some more about this target practice. And it seems, now, if you see this woman, she's overweight. So it would seem she would be in reality with this kind of situation. And you're going to hear why I'm saying this. Her friend is about to come out, and her friend is going to shed some light on this woman's name is Pi. What kind of person Pi is.
In fact, Therese says she's on the verge of ending her friendship because of this relationship. Take a look.
Pi and I have known each other for 15 years. Pi's completely wasting her time with these pretty boys. It's superficial. Every time I turn around, she meets some 25-year-old guy. Pi's close to 60, and he's 24. What could they possibly have in common? They're decades apart. There's so many things wrong with a woman close to 60 dating somebody in their early 20s. First off, what if he wants to have kids? Pi can't have kids. I think Pi likes young guys because she has a mommy complex. She likes to take care of these guys. She likes to nurture them. No guy wants to date his mom. Pi's really trying to hang on to her youth by dating younger guys. Inevitably, he's going to dump her and she's going to get hurt. Pi's a party girl. She likes to have fun. And these guys are drawn to it because she draws them in because she's very aggressive. So when I tell her to date older men, she said that she's not attracted to them or they're married, but there are plenty of men out there that are single. I'm at the end of my rope with Pi. I'm thinking of just really ending our friendship until she realizes why she does this pattern. I just think it's ridiculous she dates these little boys.
Okay, are you married or single?
I'm single.
Do you date?
Yes.
Your guys your age, not your age?
Older.
Older guys?
I like a little jolly.
Yeah, like how older?
My last boyfriend was 66.
Uh-huh. And do you mind saying how old you are? Don't if you do. I mean, some women don't like to say that. And it's rude for me to ask. I'll move on. Okay.
Interesting. Interesting point, Naya, is that her friend doesn't want to be alone. Misery loves company, right? And yes, I see there are some guys who absolutely are not attracted to women who are older. A buddy of mine was in a jazz club a couple of years ago, and he was with some other guys, and they were at the bar talking. They were talking about Viagra, and a guy came over. I think he worked for Pfizer, and the guy said, "Hey, gentlemen, I overheard your conversation, and you're talking about Viagra." He said, "I work for Pfizer, and we created it." And he said that Viagra wasn't created for the 50-year-old guy who wants to hook up with the 28-year-old hot woman with a hot body. He said Viagra was created for the 50-year-old guy with a 50-year-old wife with a 50-year-old body. That's the guy who needed help to get it up. So, yeah, I can see why a lot of this would be, yeah, I mean, when I dated women who were older, they were still hot. They had gorgeous bodies, but never 20 years older. And, I'm just, we're looking at this woman. She's clearly overweight. And this guy looks fit. So, you have to wonder what's his motivation. I mean, or does he just have low standards? I mean, if you're going to date someone older, let her be hot. Now, her friend, for those who can't see, her friend actually is attractive. I don't know how she looks without makeup, but she's made up and she looks nice. I would understand if this guy, Oleg, was dating her. I would be much more understandable. And Pornhub, I see these comments that they're pushing this on men, like older women and younger men. Interesting. Didn't really notice that. And you say that you're seeing it in Pornhub also. That's interesting. Young, old category.
But there's
That was the oldest for me. Usually they're 50 or a little older.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's an age gap there. Why is that okay for you, but not for her?
You need someone that's going to help take care of you. More security for her. I mean, that's my hope for her.
Well, you have issues with this. I made a list of those too. Here they are. Oleg is immature and a user. He's just a pretty boy with a good body. Pi is wasting her time with Oleg. He will leave due to the 34-year age gap. So, how do you know he's a user?
That's right. How do you know? It's just a pattern. It's a pattern. No, the pattern that she has with these guys.
Oh, that she gets a lot of people use her.
Well, they want to see what they have. You know, she has a lot. She knows a lot of people, and she promises them the world.
Are you using her? I mean, like for her connections and all that sort of thing?
Just having fun.
Yeah, having fun.
That guy is consistent. He keeps telling you why he's there, man. I'm just having fun, man. I'm here for the ride. This is why this is the name of the show. Now I don't know if they never mentioned. I don't think this woman has children. Um, that would be interesting. But are older single mothers target practice for younger men? Now, if you're a single mother and the age gap is not this big, it really does amount to the same thing. Well, they took me down. Interesting. They shut me down on YouTube, huh? Well, I'm going to keep doing this on Instagram. Interesting.
Yeah. You say that she provides stability and never questions your actions.
Yeah. Isn't that like the perfect girlfriend?
I'm sorry?
How much awesomer does it get than that? You never have your questions.
How much
You never-
awesomer can you get
You
there?
you never have your actions questioned.
I've never actually conjugated awesome. That's really verb. So awesome. So somebody that just anything he does is okay.
Yeah, of course.
So if he calls and says, "Hey, I was going down Melrose and I saw this girl that just, I mean,
Smoking hot,
I had to pull over,
babe.
and we're going to go out tonight. So let me catch you tomorrow." That's okay.
I wouldn't have it.
I'm asking her.
Well,
If it's request,
I don't mind anyone looking. Are you kidding? Why not? I
That
mean, I'm
wasn't the
surrounded by
question.
beautiful women, but he wouldn't do that if we're in a relationship.
oh no,
Oh no.
of course he wouldn't.
Oh hell no.
No. If he saw some 20-something hot body walking along there, they gave him a second look and they started chatting up at the coffee bean or something. One thing led to another, and then he calls you and says, "Hey, can't make it tonight. I'll see you tomorrow." Would you be okay? Would he tell you that straight up? And if he did, would you be okay with it?
Would you tell me that straight up?
Yeah. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't take another girl.
Look at that. He said, I wouldn't take another woman out. I'm committed to you. Hey, look, I'm having a good time. Don't ruin the good times. He's a smart guy.
That's what you're saying. It's going to
Yeah,
happen
see,
eventually, right? She's going to age
absolutely.
out, and he's.
Yes, and he's going to hurt her, and I'm going to have to pick up the pieces.
Aww.
Yeah, because do you think in the dating arena that you are competitive with a girl 30, 40 years younger than you? And if so, what's your competitive edge?
This is the $1 trillion question. $1 trillion. I see you in the house, Tony G. He just asked her, you got to hear this question. You have to hear the question and the dance that goes with it.
30, 40 years younger than you. And if so, do you think in the dating arena that you are competitive with a girl 30, 40 years younger than you? And if so, what's your competitive
I
edge?
think I am 34.
So I don't know if she didn't understand the question. She clearly didn't answer. She's 58 and overweight. Oh, that rhymes, right? So, he's asking, do you think you're competitive with women who are 30 years younger than you in the dating world? Question that is asked of many women. Even when they're in their 30s, we ask women, when you're 35, do you think you're competitive with a 25-year-old? Here she's 58.
I forget that I'm 58.
Yeah, let me remind you. You are.
She said she forgot, and he said, well, let me remind you. Oh, interesting. They gave me back YouTube. I'm back, guys. Very interesting. They gave me YouTube back. Exactly, Tony G. Exactly. Exactly. Denial is in Egypt, not on the Dr. Phil show. So, da, 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 da. He said, let me remind you, you're not 34.
Because I was in the music business all my life and did nightclubs. I was just surrounded by younger people, so I just don't think in the older mindset. I think in the younger mindset.
Right. But,
So,
you know, I can think young all day, but
Yeah.
I have a mirror.
yeah, no. Well, that's why I go to low lighting, low lit places, low candle light
No,
here
and
and
then
there.
All right. So look, she knows that she doesn't match up in the dating world. She knows what guys are looking for. She understands that. They tried to block your comment. Interesting. So maybe no one wants this topic discussed. Maybe that's what the real problem is, huh? Yeah. Good to see you back over there, Tony G. So she just said she likes going to low lit places so she can hide, camouflage. I didn't know a hippopotamus could camouflage. Interesting.
you're lovely. I'm not
thank you so
saying that
much.
you're unattractive. I'm just saying that they're. Do you think you're competitive in the dating market with those 20, 30, 40 years younger than you?
Well, yeah, I think it's a whole different issue. I'm never going to look that way again. But if you look at the pictures on my refrigerator, I did.
So she technically still is not answering the man's question. And she said, if you look at the pictures of me on my refrigerator, well, I looked, and she wasn't hot when I don't know what age this is, but I guess lots of people are taught to think highly of themselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was hot,
But
baby.
you offer different things.
Yes.
You are more nurturing
Yep.
than they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Educational, things to discuss in life that he has never, had someone to discuss with. Absolutely.
So
And she forgot to add, and I buy him stuff, right? That's the thing. I buy him stuff. I cater to him. I pamper him. I give him basically what he wants. Man, he must if you can see her on IG, I mean, that doggy style must be their only position. Man, that's the only way he's going to deal with that. Anyway.
you're just enriching him.
Enrichment.
All right, next, Pi shares her top 10 tips for dating younger men. You're going to want to hear these.
She doesn't give them a chance unless they're beautiful or they have good bodies.
Some of my ex-boyfriends did not have good body. The man of my dreams, Trish. Yeah.
Pi has for dating younger men. You got to be fun loving, right?
Yes.
So you can't be all fuddy duddy.
It gets boring.
Yeah. You can't be a bore.
Yeah.
You can't nag.
Yeah.
Because you do, you'll remind you of his mother.
Correct.
All right. Does
Yeah.
she nag you at all? No.
I wouldn't be here.
You what?
I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Gone, and then I have to, be there for her to
What
build
does
her
she
up.
say? What does she say? What is hurt about her? Does she feel abandoned? Does she feel?
She feels abandoned. She feels taken for granted. They promise her a lot of things, and nothing comes to fruition. They last for a little while, and then they disappear.
And she's telling a different story than you because you're saying this is all fun and games, and she's saying no. She comes crashing down hard, and I'm there to pick her up.
Okay, so wait. Can I just point out one relationship that I had in the past that was married, had children, lied the whole time, put a ring on my finger, and broke my flippin' heart. Okay, so hello. Look,
But I want you to give him a chance.
I don't always look for the good bodies. Some of my ex-boyfriends did not have good bodies, and I love them just like a big teddy bear, just like Dr. Phil. Look,
Damn, she took a shot at Dr. Phil. Wow. So interesting. Uh, so, Dr. Phil. So that was an interesting look at a behind the scenes look at why younger guys are with older women. And very interesting to see how, I mean, this shows how much sex can influence a person. So this guy, younger guy, 24, with a 58-year-old woman, is speaking in absolute non-committal language, just having fun, like being taken care of. He's saying all the things that if it was reversed, if that was a 58-year-old guy with a 24-year-old woman, everyone would call the guy stupid. She's just using you, man. She's a sugar baby and all of these things. But as you were saying, someone was saying that we root the women on and go get that younger guy and live your best life, and we'll tell the guy he's stupid for being with this younger woman who's just using you. So that guy is completely non-committal. Asked where you would be in 10 years, and his answer was just as non-committed. I'm just here having fun. Now, if she had children in the picture, especially if they were minors, that would make it even more difficult. Because then, see, the expectation would be different. Like then she'd have children who she's the mama bear taking care of her cubs, right? And she's mama bear taking care of her own, natural born cubs she gave birth to, and she just adds another cub to her den, who's a guy she's dating. Very interesting. And so would she still cater to and spoil him if she had children? A lot of women probably not. They want to have some kind of help and support for their children. And so guys really are thinking, why would I financially take care of another man's children? Yeah, probably. Yep, Tony G. Yep. That's why I came out of that. They were going to show another couple, but I guess I don't have to show that. Okay. Play music. All right. Okay. Yep. I'm back again. But I thought that one was so you could have all the commentary you want, but that was just too perfect to see live, to watch an interaction between a much older woman and a younger man, and to see how the guy is just not committed. He's just there. He's just there for the moment. And later, in a few minutes later, he was going to ask the guy, in 10 years, do you see yourself with this woman? I mean, she'll be 68. What guy wouldn't be thinking, if you're 34, you're with a woman who's 68, almost 30, it would seem like, during sex, she's going to die. He brought on another couple, 20-year difference, and the woman was 52, the guy was 32, and she also, she had what you would consider to be an average 52-year-old body on a woman, and the guy looked much more physically fit. And these become problems. It seems women are much more accepting, right, with hypergamy. A guy who's got a big gut, he's expected to pay to play. That's, even the man will understand that. But there are some guys who are older, over 45, over 50, and they are still physically fit. Women will still be very much attracted to those older guys, and money. Well, a woman's going to be hypergamous if she's 30 and the guy is 55. She's going to find his body sexually appealing. But what was interesting is in the second couple he brings up, the woman is very, very clear in saying, this is the best sex I've ever had. She had been married for 20-something years, and she put a lot of emphasis on sex, the sex she was getting from this 32-year-old guy. So while a younger man with an older single mother, it's target practice, women are getting something out of it. That's that couple that we just showed on Dr. Phil. That's surely what that woman would hope to get. She's fat and she's got a 24-year-old guy. I mean, she's 58. Most 58-year-old guys wouldn't want that, especially if he's got any kind of substance to himself. So the big challenge, ladies, is you believe that you can do whatever you want. You believe you can do what men do, and you've been lied to. You believe you can go out and make children with different men. So now you have 2 or 3 children from 2 or 3 different men. And you believe some guy who's younger than you, you're 38 years old with 3 children from 3 different men, and you believe some guy who's 28 years old is looking at you as a prime candidate for a wife. You're 38. I mean, that's the young side of an older woman. If he's a respectable guy who wants to do right by you and get married, here's how it's going to work. It's going to take at least 2 years before he considers marriage. Now you're 40. And being 40 and having children with a woman who already has 3 children, when a male lion takes over the pride and kicks out the existing male population, male adults, once they kick them out, the very next thing they do is they kill off the cubs, because those cubs are a liability. They don't want those cubs eating food that they want their offspring eating. Human beings are animals. We should never forget that. We are mammals, just like a whale, just like a lion, and all mammals belong to the animal group. So a man who is engaging a single mother, since it is not socially acceptable for a man to come in and just get rid of your children, we're supposed to take care of, respect your children from another man as though they are ours. And a guy who's high quality isn't doing that. So if he's laying down with you, unless you have something extraordinary about you, and it's unlikely you do because you wouldn't be in that situation, he's there just like the guy we saw on Dr. Phil. He's just in the moment, having a good time, understanding that you have these liabilities in your life that you value, you treasure. They're the most important thing to you. He's not there to compete with them. And he may even contribute financially to take you all out to dinner. But in the end, and like I said, I was going to say there are exceptions, but if he's a quality guy, there probably aren't really any exceptions to that. There's got to be something extraordinary about you as a woman, and it's unlikely because you would not have allowed that situation to happen. I've met plenty of women who are in their 20s, even in 30s, and they're either on some kind of birth control or they demand a condom. There's no reason that a woman can't say, hey, no condom, no sex. No reason. So if you're impregnated by someone you didn't want to marry, you set yourself up. So you may be 35 or 40, and you're just as valuable as that 58-year-old woman dating a younger man. And a lot of women may see that's impossible. She's overweight. Yeah, you can have all these things going for you, and your job really means nothing. Your body's well put together. You're stacked. You came back after having 3 children. But see, that's not even counting the possible drama a man will have to deal with from the father of your children. So what else are we to do with you? Like, do women think this through? Do you think through that you significantly diminish your value in the sexual marketplace by having children and believing that you're now going to run off and marry some guy who's younger than you? I see the headlines. Women are talking about how they date younger guys, and it's the thing now. And there may be a couple of women who get married to these guys. And so now you're all going to think it's going to happen because you know that one woman who married a guy younger. So you all take one off and turn it into a pipe dream. Well, guys, you just saw what happens when you date an older woman. And that 58-year-old unattractive woman is just as valuable as the 38 to 40-year-old attractive woman with 3 children with different fathers. That's what you women do to yourselves. You get diminished like that. And you may think it's unfair. Well, why should I, as a man, take on your liabilities? Like, give me one reason. You're worth it because you have coochie? There are billions of women out there. What is it you bring? You have a good job? Like, what does that mean? Like, what does a woman's job and income have to do with me? What is that? How does that benefit me as a man? So, ladies, you've been lied to. You were told you can do all these things. You can have it all. Have a bunch of children and then find the man of your choice. You too can find the man of your dream. There's a joke. Some of you may have heard it. There's a man's store and it has 6 floors. And on each floor, it's a different kind of man. So this woman comes in and she says, I want a man. And they say, well, once you go up a floor, you can never go back down. You can only go back up. You can go up or stay where you are and choose from the floor you're on. But like I said, once you go up a floor, you can never go back down. So this woman goes into the store and they say, all of the men on this floor like children. She's like, oh, that's great. So let me see what's on the second floor. Second floor. All of these men like children and they are handsome. She said, oh, wow, it just gets better, right? So let's see what's on the third floor. Third floor, they like children, they are handsome, and they are good lovers. And she said, oh my God, let's see what's on the next floor, right? So she goes up, and these men are, they like children, they're handsome, they're good lovers, and they love to cook. That's on the fourth floor. They love cooking. And she said, well, if each floor gets better, I've got to find out what's on the next floor. And on the fifth floor, the men, they love children. They are handsome. They like to cook. They're good lovers, and they have great jobs. That's on the fifth floor. And she said, oh my God, I have to go to the sixth floor and see what's up there. And she gets to the sixth floor, and on the sixth floor, it says, you're the woman number 1,427,000 who's made it to the sixth floor. There are no men on this floor, and you have to leave the building. You get no man. So the point was, it's like no matter how much a man has, the women are not satisfied. You can give them these great guys, and they're still going to want more. And this is how women believe that what they want matters in a man's decision for who he chooses. So just because a woman wants all these things in a man, she never, just think about the woman going through that building. She never found out what each man on each floor would need from a woman. She just wanted more and more and more. So it doesn't matter what she wants when you look at who the man is going to choose. So as she's going through each floor, this is how women go through life. They just go through each floor and they meet all these great men, and they go have children with the guys who are lousy or they didn't think were good, or they were good guys and they screwed it up with them. And it's like they just run through life like I can just do anything. Nothing matters. And then you meet that guy who's just right, and you didn't pay attention to what you did. And then you set yourself up to be target practice, even for the guys that are your age, or for the younger guys, for sure. Ladies, you may think we're bashing you and being harsh on you, but many of you are sabotaging your lives. I love that Tony G brings up my book, and I call something a radio station. So in my book, Here's Why You Can't Find Love, I talk about something called a radio station, that it's a conversation that plays in your head like a radio station. As soon as you wake up, you hear, thank God it's Friday. Like, I wonder how many people woke up today thinking it's Friday. Or did you actually wake up thinking, oh my God, it's Friday and it's YouTube and chill. I can't wait till 7 p.m. Or did you think, I'm glad it's Friday? But where did you get that conversation? It's like by a certain age, we inherit these conversations. We didn't make them up. Mondays suck. Some of you are going to wake up on Monday thinking Monday sucks. So we have these conversations in our head that tell us we can do things, even if they're lies. Even if the belief is a lie, we still engage in the behavior. And that's what's happened to so many women in the US. You've got this radio station playing in your head. You can have it all. A man he should accept you for being overweight. A man should accept you for making poor decisions. A man should accept you saying his money is your money and your money is not his money. You want it all. And he should just accept, he should just be lucky to have you. These are all beliefs that are killing relationships in this country. And what you ladies will be left with is you'll be 58 trying to get a 24-year-old who's saying, I'm just in it for fun. Just here to have a good time. And you saw they talked about things they have in common. None of those things have anything to do with compatibility. Hey, big exclusive. Thanks for the name, Jennifer Molesky. Let me write that down. Absolutely, Nias. Let's see. Hey, so that's another thing. You big exclusive. That guy, a lot of people caught that he wasn't very masculine, right? So she's going to be limited to the kind of men she's going to attract. I mean, come on. I mean, how many guys around 25 years old who have at least he appeared to have taken care of his body? How many 25-year-old guys who have a average or to fit body want to be with a fat woman who's your mother's age or older? I mean, what kind of mind does he have? I asked, can men be hypergamous? It seems like that's what he was presenting, himself to be a woman. Yep, and a big exclusive. She may be happy with a mother son relationship, right? So Tony G, I see you came over. No, absolutely, it's not locked for life, Tony G. Definitely not. um, but dismantling it because you can't turn it off. I mean, the fact that you speak a language, right? That's part of the radio station. I actually gave a simple answer for how to deal with the radio station, and most people won't like that answer. That's interesting. Women visit the graveyard, but don't think they won't end up there themselves. That's interesting. So I'm curious, are there any younger guy? Are there any guys who would uh, how many men actively go out seeking, like, their preference is to be with an older woman, an older single mother? How many men, or do you know of any men? Like, I'd like to know, are there men who intentionally seek out for long-term relationship older single mothers? Does that exist? I mean, will someone be honest and say, I'm that guy? I'd really like to know. Are there any women in the house who are older and believe that they caught themselves a really valuable guy, and you caught that guy while you were, who's younger, you caught a younger guy while you were a single mother? Who's pulling it off? I mean, I know it's happening out there. Who's doing it? You see, I think the challenge is women believe It's, that conversation, anything is possible, anything. That's the radio station. Well, anything is possible, right? So I don't have to be responsible because anything is possible. Well, I could jump from here to the moon. Anything is possible. Sure, I could do that. Anything is possible. We say that, this line of anything is possible. So, the woman has 3 children by 3 different men, uh, never married, and now she's a single mother, and saying, well, I can catch a 25-year-old guy, and she's 38, and she'll say, well, anything is possible. See, a lot of women kill off their lives. I mean, just being a single mother to start is a bad move. You've emotionally traumatized your children, or all this co-parenting. You take one parent out the house, there's a negative impact emotionally. But the whole anything is possible. It's this radio station that plays, and it once people buy into, well, anything is possible, and you can just do anything and everything, and it's just a matter of time, that fosters irresponsible behavior. Women don't have time the way men do. Yeah, hey, country boy, there's nothing wrong with desiring sex. Like, nothing wrong with that. But women have to learn about their bodies, and their bodies were not designed to be with multiple men. There's a price to pay for that. And the older they get, see, here's the trick. So once you become a single mother, and you don't realize that guys are using you as target practice, as a practice woman, as the way to gain some kind of experience and knowledge about relationships. You're going to be with each guy expecting and believing that anything is possible. And the more men you're with, the more that starts to impact you emotionally in a very negative way. Women who have been with 6 men are 3 times less likely, listen to this, women who have had sex with 6 different men are 3 times less likely to enter into an emotionally stable relationship. 3 times less likely to be in an emotionally stable relationship. And they looked at those stats to see if men, it had the same impact on men, and it did not. We don't have the same biochemistry. So that's 6 different men. There are lots of women who went past 6 a long time ago, like as teenagers. You add children to your life, you're even less desirable. So yes, if women would restrain what they're listening to a radio station that's saying being promiscuous is empowering. You're powerful. You control your own sexual destiny, is what they've been told, and they bought it. See, that's you're asking women to be constrained, but that's a conversation that would be considered outdated. That's an outdated radio station, right? So now women have been given a new frequency, and this frequency says you can do whatever men do. If it's good enough for men, like good enough for the goose, it's good enough for the gander. And this is an inaccurate statement. So you have more and more women out here finding out that it doesn't work. And even for you ladies who've never had children and you've been promiscuous, even you pay a price. And a man who's of high quality is unwilling to share the burden of your emotional instability with you, to help you work it out. And I hear you ladies say, well, I know I have a mouth on me, and I know I do this, and I know I do that, but I'm worth it. How the hell are you going to be worth it if you are going to diminish any aspect of my life? Like if I've got to engage in behavior that is unproductive in my life, right? So I've got to discipline your children because they've been emotionally traumatized, right? So um, I've got to deal with your children saying, well, you're not my daddy. And yet I'm still liable for the financial well being of your children. Show me the men who are lining up for this. Show me the money. Damn it, man. Interesting. Do women admit they are single moms right off the bat, or do they wait and tell them as a condition before sex? Interesting. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I talked about a single mother I met. I was 19, she was 36. She let me know right out the gate, that she had children. Now, I didn't tell her I was 19. She never asked my age, and I never volunteered. Don't ask, don't tell, right? A Bill Clinton policy. Except she did tell me she had an 18-year-old son, and I was 19, and I assured her, without saying my age, that I was older than her son, so she had nothing to worry about. So out the gate, she let me know she was a single mother. So there are women who do let you know. If these filthy harlots would just close their smelly clam between their legs, learn self-control and how to be pleasant, they would be a lot happier. Now, this is interesting, ladies. There are men who are thinking these things, and you have no idea. And you're presenting to yourselves, to men, as though you are a prize and a gift, and he should be happy to be with you. And they have another way of looking at you. And he says, seriously, no real man wants to raise another man's cream pie. Why is it difficult for women to understand that men actually view single mothers this way? We view promiscuous women this way. Someone asked the question, am I wrong for not being sexually attracted to used up women with other men's kids? See, these are questions men ask. They're having them these. If they're not having them with other men, they're having the conversation with themselves, and you are presenting yourselves to these men as though they should be lucky to have you. Lucky in what way? I mean, how does look, to be honest, 98% of women are a liability. And if I was going to be kind, I'll say 95%. That means 5% of women out here in the US are an asset. 95% are a liability. That's single women, no children. You add your children to the mix, you just exponentially increased yourself as a liability. How does that make any woman the prize? 95% of women are liabilities. Liabilities take money off the table, assets put money on the table. And if most women are taking money off the man's table and not replacing it, see, that would be a break even. If a woman took $1 off the table and then put $1 back, I just broke even, and she's not profitable. But if she takes $1 off and puts 2 back, that's an asset. She's profitable. So if she takes 100 off and 200 come back, not 100 to 200 come back, that woman knows how to make herself an asset. Now, if you have children, well, she's going to take 100 off the table And the children are each going to take another 50. That's a deficit. And if you were a business, you'd go bankrupt. Hey, yeah, it's already been invaded, right? So lots of women have been invaded, and they're happy with how they've been invaded. But see, there are a lot of women who are learning a very rough lesson about what it means when you say, I don't need a man and I can do this on my own. When these women hit their 50s and they're by themselves and their children are all grown up and living their own lives. So, ladies, if you never want to make yourself practice, target practice, or you don't want to end up with the guy like I showed on Dr. Phil, who presents himself as a hypergamous man. He presents himself as a 24-year-old guy dating a 50-year-old woman who takes care of him. He's getting his financial needs met. He's getting he said, somewhat of a mentor, and he's having fun. They have lots in common. They like to party and have a good time. They like to eat foods. They like certain music and movies. They love entertainment. He's saying everything that you would expect to hear from a woman. How many women can't wait to get a guy like that? Well, you too can have a man like that if you decide to go out and have children from another man and don't stay with him. You'll be the older woman sponsoring some young guy who's just there for the ride until it's time to get off the ride. Hey, thank you. Thank you. So a thought by a guy. I'm creeped out by microchimerism. Telegony, STDs, and hybristophilia, not wanting my woman penetrated by other men. Can you blame me? See, it would be interesting, and it's unlikely it will happen. It would be interesting to have a woman call into the show right now. Come into the chat. I'll drop a link for a woman to come in and explain why I have no clue of what I'm saying. Explain to me how you can be a 38-year-old woman with 3 children and you will get a very high quality man. What some people are talking about, this high value man earns 6 figures and has a very good network. Like that, he has a valuable network of influential people. And tell me how that guy marries this 38-year-old woman with 3 children from 3 different men. And that man is younger. He's 28. Show me that 38-year-old woman, 3 children, 3 different men. I don't know. I'll give you if you want a PhD, I'll give you a PhD, and you can earn 6 figures. You still never married, 3 children, 3 different men. Show me that woman. It's like The Price is Right. Show me what's behind the curtain, and behind that curtain, what I want to see is a line of men who are 25 to 28 lined up to marry that 38-year-old woman who looks good, 3 children, 3 different men, and those men are lined up with that little box and a diamond in it because he's that high value man who's ready to marry her. Show me that woman. And I know some of you women will say, I only need to marry one man. But if you don't have one man like that lined up for you, it doesn't matter. You're a good time girl. What's that old song, girls just want to have fun? That's how we'll look at you. You're just there for fun. And I'm going to ride this out, and I'm going to have a great relationship with you. We're going to do all kinds of things, and I'm going to even practice what it's like to have children. And I'm going to learn a whole lot about life so that when I disengage and I pull that, eject button, when I push that eject button, I've gathered so much knowledge. But I don't want to do that too long because I don't want to develop the habit of being disengaged and engaged at the same time, because that's what you would have to be. Single mothers, older single mothers, you have made yourself into practice. Good times. A man can learn a lot about himself and about women through you, provided you haven't become too emotionally unstable. But when you go through a couple of guys like that who are quality and they all walk, probably will become unstable, and it will be much more difficult as you get older. And you're going to think, well, guys are just dogs and they're horrible. Yet you made choices that put you in a situation that targets you. You now have a target on your head that says, I'm just here for the good times. And you want men to take you seriously. Why should they? The time to do that was before you turned 25. This is the thing women need to understand. If you older women are not telling your daughters this, if you guys with daughters are not warning your daughters of the dead end street that has them be there just for practice, then you've done your daughter a disservice and you've set her up to fail. I personally would like to see relationships work between people. If you get married, you're married. Stay married. Make it work. Most relationships are not. Most divorces don't happen because of abuse. And according to Harvard Medical School, 70% of domestic violence is initiated by women, not men. Women just start to fight and lose. They want the police to get involved after they lose. See, what's happening is you ladies are losing in a lot of different ways, and you're still listening to that radio station telling you you can still have it all. Like the little caboose that could. I think I can. I think I can. You've been given a false sense of security. And if men are honest with you, you wouldn't want to hear most of what they have to say. So as men, be intelligent about the woman you choose. Understand there's a difference between compatibility and having things in common. I showed you something a clip from Dr. Phil, where 58-year-old woman is dating a 24-year-old guy, and they laid out all the things they have in common. None of those things, they were like, we like entertainment, we like the same music, we both like to eat food, like all these things that you have in common, and none of them have 1 ounce to do with making a relationship work between 2 people. Compatibility is another planet. So saying we have things in common is dead end street. You can have things in common with literally every single human being on the planet. It doesn't mean you're compatible. So as a man, you have a right to protect yourself, your emotional well-being, your financial well-being. If a woman is showing you that she's a single mother, she's showing you she makes poor decisions, and she shows you that she will be with the wrong man and she will leave him. She will want out, or she will do things to cause it to fall apart. If she's done it with one man, she has proof that she's done it, and she'll do it again because that is what she's done. And if she's had children with more than one man, it's just more proof. And I understand there are some of you guys may be fathers or single fathers, and you may see a single mother that may be compatible for many of you. There may be an understanding. But for some of you, you understand that this may be a woman who makes poor decisions, and the last thing you want to be is on the other end of the court, given alimony and child support demands put on you. So the women who want to believe the radio station that they can have it all and they can do anything they want, they don't have to be responsible, and they can go have all the fun they want, and have sex with many guys as they want, and this is just normal and men should just accept it, we actually do not. So if your fathers, educate your women, educate your daughters, your nieces. Right. Well, you know, that's interesting that a woman will believe her vagina is actually powerful. It's like having a Mercedes dealer. You're not the only Mercedes dealer on the planet. You can just go elsewhere. I mean, imagine attempting to mark up a Mercedes, mark it up by $100,000, and everywhere else you can get it for, let's say, 100,000, and now I'm charging $200,000 for the same Mercedes that everyone else is charging for. And the Mercedes I'm selling is used, and I want 200,000 more. It's just ridiculous. I have no power. I mean, I can say, well, my Mercedes is great because blah, 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 but it doesn't give me any power. People will go elsewhere. So vagina is like that. It can be had elsewhere. I mean, a lot of guys are finding going abroad. I don't condone going overseas. I suggest men learn to sit down and talk to women and correct the situation. And I don't mean it strictly in a logical sense. I mean to like ask questions and to really talk, because women have been lied to. And if you lied to someone, even though it's a lie, they don't know it. So in their mind, of that lie is the truth. But no matter how many times you tell a lie, it never becomes the accurate truth. So some women just don't know this. This is all they've known. And sometimes it's risky. She might walk away because you hurt her feelings. What you did is made it better for the next guy. And if all us men do that and have these really brutally blunt conversations with women, reality may start to show through the clouds. Yeah. Well, look, when a woman learns that what's between her legs has no power, it is devastating. And they all learn it someday, even if it means their man is cheating on them. Yeah, that's all they can do is despise. But they use the wrong thing. I mean, who's the comedian that asked the women in the audience, ladies, if some accident happened, and your vagina didn't function and you could never have sexual intercourse again, what would you do to be valuable to your man? And the women were like anal sex, oral sex. You know, they were saying all these things about sex, but none of the women said anything about, you know, I'd be this real stand for my man, and you know, whatever he's looking to build, I would be the most perfect partner to help him succeed in creating whatever he wanted in life. They didn't say those things. They just had an alternative to sex, backdoor action. Patrice O'Neal, that's who said, all right, thanks for that. Yeah, yeah. Comedian Patrice O'Neal said that, made that joke. You know, and he said, look, ladies, I just gave you the perfect opportunity to step up and show that you're more than sex objects. And all of you presented your value is well, if I don't have a vagina, I'll have sexual value some other way. Oral sex, backdoor, breast. This is what is not being taught to many of your daughters. They're being told that they shouldn't need a man and they should go out and have their own money and they can do whatever they want. I mean, that's all an education and a job is for a woman. It's so that she has an exit strategy. She doesn't have to listen to anything the man says. But when these women get older, they get in their mid-50s, they start listening to men a lot more because they understand what it's like to be undesirable now. Yep, yep. Hey, like I said, country boy, they've told women lies, and the women bought it. Yeah, that's Tony G, a series of holes, exactly. And see, the other disservice we've done to society is to tell little boys that they only want one thing and they think with their little head. Men do not think with their penises. We think with our brains. And like whenever someone says that, like that's just shut that down. We do not think with our penises. We have brains and we use it. Why do you think every civilization around the world exists and is fully structured with all kinds of conveniences? Because we used our brain to do that. We are creative. We are the creative ones. We're the ones. Look at the Hollywood movies that men write. Unfortunately, men fall for those same Hollywood movies. So don't fall for this notion that all you want is sex and you think with your little head. Because at some point you learn that it takes way more than that. The problem is women believe that that's who we are also. So they come to the table prepared for us to only think with our little head and to only want sex. And it's got to be confusing when they find out that that's a lie. Tony G, that's a great question. And I've asked some of the older women, why aren't you sitting down with the younger women and saying, look, we made a mistake. We gave you bad advice. We took a dead end street and it got us nothing. So we're sorry. Like those older women who were sort of two worlds, right? They were raised in the traditional way. You know, they may have been born in the 40s and early 50s. And then they were told that those old ways were horrible and to be looked down on. And those men and women of 1950s were monsters. See, there are women who learned both worlds. And once they found out that they were given a dead end, they wouldn't go back and correct it. You have to wonder about that. Like, are people that afraid of looking bad that they have to hide the fact that they just went there, that they're walking down a dead end street? That's like the emperor with no clothes on. Like all men I want to say all men in the US can see that women made some poor choices in how they relate to men. And it's like women don't realize we can see that. It's like you're walking with no clothes on and you think we don't see that. You made these decisions and we see the impact. There are consequences for that. And we're responding to you with those consequences. It's not that we're bad. It's not that we hate women. It's not that we want to bash you or hurt you. But you took yourselves out of something that would just naturally occur. Look, it's not natural in nature for any male species to want to take on a woman and take care of her offspring from some other animal. The lions kill those young cubs immediately. That male lion comes in, takes over a pride, chases those males out, or fights to the death. And the next order, that's number one on the list of things to do. Number two is find those little cubs and kill them immediately. Because it is not his responsibility to take care of those cubs. They are a liability. I don't know if women are okay with that. Some women seem to be. We hear more and more women are killing their children or leaving them in the trash. Yeah, so there is definitely value in women speaking to other women, right? Um, to keep order. But ultimately, he who builds the home is responsible for what happens in the home. And he who builds society is no different than he who builds home. So if you build the home, you build the society, you're responsible for everything that happens inside of it. So when your women start straying off, it needs to be corrected. And there are societies that understand that and they put that into practice. Men are not helpless. See, the way I'm speaking now here, when I speak like this to women, they may be insulted and they say you're harsh. I mean, I've been much more gentle. Like I've interviewed for my book and I've been much more gentle than what I'm saying here. And women have felt I was being very harsh. They're shocked. Why is this guy speaking so harshly to us? They hear us. The thing is, men are hesitant to have these conversations because they're more concerned about whether or not they will lose their opportunity to have sex with women. You won't. See, women like men who stand for something, men of principles. Women like the guy who's going to shoot it straight. Now, I understand that in the public eye, where they supposedly have a herd mentality and they all have to agree, but no one knows who's really leading that herd, right? They're following it. But in private, and I see this a lot, even when I've been invited to parties where, they're just men and women. And I have these conversations and there's some women who are like shocked. How could you say this? I don't like you. And then there are other women who later quietly want to pull me to the side or other activities. And even the woman who was shocked somewhere down the line, her attitude towards me is very healthy. but they just believe it's the radio station that's telling them when you hear men say certain things, these are red flags, and the alarm should go off, and he's misogynist and sexist. Yes, I'm a sexist. I know women are weaker than me. I wouldn't expect a woman to carry me over a puddle. I would carry a woman over a puddle because she's a weaker sex, and I don't have a problem with that. If I were married, I wouldn't, and I heard a noise downstairs, I wouldn't send my wife, or we wouldn't be like, let's flip a coin and see who goes downstairs. So that makes me a sexist. I've paid for dinner, whether the woman has money or not. I've paid. That makes her the weaker sex. So I'm sexist. Misogyny, I think I'm supposed to hate women. So I don't think so. Oh yeah, that hey country boy. I think Britney has gotten too much attention already, man. We some things we need to just let die, and that would also be helpful. Like you just start giving zero attention. Right? You know, I understand OnlyFans guys. A lot of guys like to watch that, but if you let that stuff dry out like a desert, women will have different attitudes. If you reward bad behavior, then why should they stop? They have proof that it works. So ultimately, it's up to us. Ultimately, you check your mothers and your aunts, your sisters, your grandmother if you have to. Never be afraid to check a woman. And if they want to consistently display bad behavior, like you said, you cut ties. You don't give people attention. You don't give them positive attention for bad behavior. I'm not saying disengage from your family. I'm not telling you to do that. Family's important. I understand that. But family can also exploit you because they believe they can. Yeah, 100% of men would be useful, except you don't have to have 100% of anything. I mean, just think about that, Tony G. Uh, when the United States wanted independence from Great Britain, it was not 100% of the people living here who wanted independence. There was a fair amount of people who wanted to remain a colony of Great Britain. Yet we see what happened. So not only were the so-called colonists fighting the British, there were people who had already been living in the U.S. more than one generation. They were also fighting with the British against the people who wanted independence. And we see how that worked. You know, what 58 is it 58 or 57 men signed the Declaration of Independence, and it was men, not women. And their ages ranged from I think late 20s all the way up like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Maybe the oldest guy might have been 70s. Most of them were probably in their 40s and 50s. So you had a range of in age of those men. 57, 58 men didn't need 100% of men to do that. They took a stand for something. And that's what's required, men to take a stand. Look, I'm talking about a situation where they were pulling out guns. They were fighting to the death. But they took a stand. Women will dislike you, but I promise they will remember. Women remember a verbal ass kicking and but not be malicious about it, matter of fact about it. They do hear this. I mean, I've ran into women from high school that learned a hell of a lesson from me. So let me tell you about politicians. Politicians have no political power. Princeton did a study, and it didn't matter if the majority of the people in the United States wanted a bill to pass, they were in favor of a policy. It didn't matter. It was wealthy families, large landowners, and corporations, and PACs. You can put together a super PAC. Men could actually put together a PAC, raise money, hire lobbyists, have those lobbyists take it to Capitol Hill, and along with that, those bills, you need to bring this campaign contributions. You need to write a check or cash if you have to, right? But whatever you need to do, lobbyists, they write the bills. I mean, just look, I did that show on the abortion laws in Texas. The Supreme Court is listening to Oklahoma now, or maybe they've done it already. Women are against the abortion laws in Texas. Not 100% of women, but there are plenty of women. Who is it? The celebrity Bette Midler said women throughout the United States should protest it by withholding sex until they change the laws. And it didn't work. See, that's proof that even though women don't want a policy, they don't want a law in their state, it didn't matter. And that governor of Texas stood by this new abortion law. He's a man. He stood by it. So who sat down with him? Which lobbyist? Which corporations? Someone's benefiting from that. Is it going to be like companies like Procter and Gamble that make these pregnancy tests? Or is it P&G, and the diapers they make, Pampers? Men have way more power than they realize. Doesn't matter who's in office. Actually, Tony G, you might not have been in this show. I did a show and I talked about it. I think it was when I talked about the Texas abortion law. So one law that could be passed in the United States, and it would be a matter of national security and global competitiveness. And we'd have to take a look at every company in the United States and look at who is the best person for the job. China did this, I don't know, 15 years ago. The Bank of China said that every single person working in the Bank of China has to reapply for their job. And now that the Bank of China is going to be an international bank instead of just a bank in China, the people in their positions, and it included the CEO, may not be qualified for where the Bank of China is going. And where they're going is global business. So every single person needs to reapply for their position. Some of you will keep your positions and others you'll be fired. You'll lose your job. And we're going to put someone who's more qualified. So if the United States wants to stop China from becoming the global powerhouse, we need to do something very similar. And that is, we need to look at who are the best employees anywhere, doctors in healthcare. And since men put in more hours, we're more productive, men are more creative, we need to look at where women are costing us money because they're not as productive. They take 60% more sick leave than men. Where are all the areas where women are less productive? If we pass laws that there's a matter of national security, is that every employee in a company has to be the best person for a job. If it's a woman, great, keep your job. If it's not, then you need to be replaced. And what that will do is remove most women from the workforce. And the women who stay will be your outliers, the ones who are actually good at what they do, and they stay. And if the women don't like it, well, you can pack up and go move to an island and create your own civilization. That's fine. I understand there's an island off the coast of Finland that's supposed to be designated for females only. Or women can start competing in the global market and create female only companies and create your own female only Fortune 500 companies. Make your own cars, and you can pay everyone high salaries and take all the sick leave you want. I mean, they can do that. But if we start looking at everything from corporations to the military, if we look at the military and the standards, are we lowering the bar for women in the military? Are we lowering the bar for women in the police force, in the fire department? Everywhere where we have to lower the bar, so basically we would be giving women equality. If you want to be in the military, you carry the same load pack as men and you run the same times. If you don't, get out, like get out. Because we can't have a weak military or a police force. And that wouldn't be discrimination, it would be equality. If we wrote bills to say this is a matter of national security, it would take a lot of women out of the workforce. And as I said, they're either going to create their own island or they're going to create their own companies and they can compete. And I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. There are enough women out there with billions of dollars to be able to invest their own money. Yeah, if they get rid of the lobbyists, you still can, like the government was never set up to be the powerhouse. The government is just a mediator, and you have to understand the constituents. At one time, the only people who voted were wealthy families, large landowners, and the merchants. That was it. The only way the average man was able to vote is because he went off to fight in the war. In a revolutionary war. So one of the benefits of fighting in the war was given the right to vote. So men had to actually earn their right to vote. They had to die for it or put their lives on the line. Women haven't fought for a right to vote. They may have protested, but they didn't actually go out and die on a battlefield for it. So men were given that right to vote. See, the government was only set up to be a mediator. So if you have wealthy families, large landowners, and merchants, those three are passing laws, and the government was set up to look out to protect the best interest of those three constituents: wealthy families, large landowners, and merchants. And the merchants are now large corporations. The government was there so that when one of those three wanted a law passed and it conflicted, if a merchant conflicted with a wealthy family, the government was there to be a mediator and look at both sides and say, okay, let's pass the law. That's the way it was set up. We're a republic, not a democracy. So even if you get rid of the lobbyists, you didn't get rid of the way our system was set up originally. It's still set up the same way. So men still can create a PAC and drop $1 billion into a PAC and make campaign contributions. Not only make campaign contributions, you can put someone in office, you can replace someone, and you put the money behind them, they win, and that person that you put in office is there to protect your agenda and create create allies with other legislators so that your agenda is taken care of. Interesting. China's getting rid of abortion unless it's medical. Very interesting. What if it's rape? I wonder on that. So they're going to let their population start growing. No. Hey, Tony G, it's not that society favors women. It's that men are just standing by and saying nothing because they don't want to be called sexist or misogynist. They've been taught to shut up They've been taught to not even be masculine. They've been taught to get into their feminine side. Why would you tell the men? Why would you tell the men in your country to be feminine? And the only thing that stops women from being pillaged and raped by some other country are your men. So why would you ask your men to be less than men? Because we are the only thing that's protecting them. That's why women won't pack up and leave and go create their own island. Because they're here for the protection. Without us, they're just sitting there. They can get all the military they want. The pirates will come in. Hell, pirates will come in rowing boats and take over an island of women. As long as men sit back and believe they're help. See, it seems like once you tell men to be women, you can then convince them to be helpless. And that's what has happened. Men are not helpless. This country is not being attacked because there are men here. We built the home we live in. The home is called the United States of America. 50 states. And we built them, all the roads, the tunnels, bridges, skyscrapers, housing developments, all of it. Well, you see, as long as men believe that, Tony G, you'll be right. I said that in a book. As long as you believe it, you'll be right. I mean, can you imagine a guy named Copernicus walking up to the scientific community? And the scientific community, they're all saying, all the planets go around the Earth, including the sun. The Earth is the center of the universe. And he said, well, actually, no. I thought about it. I did some calculations, and I noticed that all the planets go around the sun, including the Earth. We all go around the sun. And they said, heresy. How could you say that? One man said that. He was executed by the church. 40 years after he was executed, Galileo was born. And Galileo said, I notice also the planets go around the sun. The planets are not going around the Earth. They go around the sun. And it took a while, but it came. Well, see, feelings are irrelevant. See, feelings are just fads. See, you can tell men to be feminine, and they'll do that. And you have to understand how that was created. It wasn't created by chiseling and using jackhammers on men. It was created by saying words. It's the most invisible thing. A conversation is the only thing that it took. Men, you need to get in touch with your feminine side. That's what was said, and men did it. A completely new radio station that says get in touch with your feminine side. Look at what China's doing. Anything that demeans men in the media is out. They got rid of it. Just like that. Like the Bank of China. Everyone applies for their job. Anything that puts men down, get rid of it. Abortions, gone. Men still have that power. Because see, if women didn't like it, they would pack up and leave. They won't. Because then they will understand liability. Then they will understand what men really do. Then they will be oppressed by hard work. They will no longer be a protected gender. I'm actually answering it. The only way things are this way is because someone created a conversation. Things haven't always been this way. Someone created a conversation. This may sound just abstract. I can give you a perfect example. I used to run a company. We did logistics, transportation logistics. And sometimes we were delivering something for a client and we screwed up. We made a mistake. The culture of the company was make up a good lie. So we made a mistake. And what we would do is think of a good lie, flat tire, what all these different. So you'd spend all your time thinking of the lie you're going to tell the client. When I started running that company, one of the first things I did is we no longer lie to clients. If we made a mistake, whoever made the mistake, you call the client and you tell them exactly what you did and how you are correcting things. And they laughed at me and they said, and then we closed down because we're going to lose all of our clients if we tell the truth. Well, I said, I am responsible for that. If that's what happens, I'm responsible. And they start asking me questions. Well, what if the client says this? What if, and they start telling the truth to the client. Well, a couple of things happened. No one wanted to be the one to have to call the client and say, I made a mistake. So they stopped making mistakes. And when they did call the client and tell, they had to also have a solution for what was going to happen. So, and to promise it wouldn't happen again. Our mistakes, if they were this much, they went down to that. And anyone in the company who didn't fit into this new culture of transparency didn't belong in there, because now we were a company that was not making mistakes. They were as little as possible. And when we did make a mistake, we knew how to correct it immediately. See, that only happened because I created a new conversation. The old conversation was, and they would literally be laughing about the lies they would make up. It was funny. I created a new conversation. We tell the truth, we're transparent, and we come up with solutions. Because we had to. They're paying us to get something from point A to point B. We still have to do it. And if we screw up so bad that the client doesn't pay, we're going to be out of business if we do that for all of our clients. It only happened because I created a brand new conversation. Now, they did come to me and say, well, what if this and what if that? And I role played with them. See, this is all, I'm not oversimplifying things. If you have a family and there's a conversation where the children believe they can play with matches, you're going to create a new conversation that says you do not play with matches in the house, even if there has to be consequences. But you're going to create a new conversation about safety in the household. See, men have allowed women to create the conversations in this country, and men have stood by and watched. They have warned women. But see, you have to stand for what you say also. See, that's what women want from men anyway. They've been told they don't want that. They've been told they want the soft, mushy guy who expresses his feelings, and they don't. I mean, there are women out there who say, I married the guy who had soft, mushy feelings, and I divorced him, and now I have myself a caveman. I've heard those exact words. I've got a caveman, and he knows how to hang the curtains and put a door up. He can do man stuff, and we're happy. There's more of that than you can believe. Men have this level of fearlessness that allows them to deal with confrontation, to go into danger. We talk about, look at 9/11, the firemen that died, that went into that building to help. Do you know how many women went in there to help? Zero. Men will go deal with conflict and confrontation and danger. We have that by biological design. And if it's a conversation that needs to be confronted and dealt with, men actually have what it takes to do that. I understand that someone has attempted to talk you out of it. Just imagine Superman being talked out of being Superman and being convinced he's only Clark Kent, and that's the only thing he can ever be and do is be Clark Kent, is what has happened to a lot of men. What are women going to do? Beat us up. There are new conversations that need to be had. It's not about what we don't want and don't like. It's about what we want to see happen going forward. That is something that people have to clearly understand. If you focus on the things you don't want, you'll never actually get what you do want. So men have to get clear about what they want in society and what they want from women, and not be afraid, ashamed to voice those things. This is what's acceptable. Yeah, that's a quick fix, right? I mean, the big exclusive, it's a really good question. The ideal situation would be some aliens coming in from another planet, and then every country in the US, what it's about 192 countries, would all unite, and all women would depend on men to step up and be men again, right? And all the nations that are in conflict with one another would stop shooting at one another, and they'd stand by side and they'd fight against the aliens, right? That would unite us all. I mean, that almost becomes like a drug, right? That you constantly need this stimuli to get you, instead of knowing how to self-correct. We have to learn how to self-correct, because if we get off track, we've got to learn how to get back on track. So think of in an airplane. If you're flying from New York to Los Angeles, for much of that trip, you can be on autopilot. And what that plane does is it constantly recalibrates and gets you back on track automatically. It knows when it's off a little bit. It gets you back on. Men are going to have to develop those kinds of tools. That's a different mindset. Yeah. Well, if you look at the space race, and I know we had Vietnam in the 60s, but the race to get a man to the moon unified a big portion of the US. So yes, if there's nothing that you committed to accomplishing that's bigger than the leader or the individuals, it's easy to become complacent, right? So flying a man to the moon, John F. Kennedy declared that 1962 or 63, and it took until 69 for it to happen. But it unified people. So, and I think you're actually pointing to something important. The real problem with the United States is that we don't have any problems. So here's what I say. The greatest leaders do not solve problems. They create problems. They intentionally create problems. So having a president of a country, and you need this within corporations also, we need to create problems for people to solve. So just imagine, right? So, you have a company like Apple Computer, and they make these great computers. Hell, I'm on an iMac now. And you say, well, I think it was 1983, Steve Jobs introduced the Newton. He created a problem, but technically he didn't know how to navigate his people through the problem he had created. He had created probably enough problems, and the board was having a problem with him, creating problems, and it was costing money in it. So introducing the Newton, it failed because it didn't make sense. It was a problem, and people didn't know how to solve it, and they had this preconceived notion, like a radio station, that this doesn't make sense. Why are we going from this big computer that sits on your desk to one that fits in the palm of your hand? Makes no sense. So he came back later, and he said, he created a problem. And it was the iPod, right? It was, we're going to have music. We can put thousands of songs on one thing. And that was a problem for them to create. They were creating something they had never created before, a device that made the Walkman obsolete. And you could put thousands of songs on one little device. And then he said, we're going to turn this into a phone, right? That's another problem. And then he got back to his Newton. We're going to create an iPad. So we're going to put the iPod, iPhone, and we're going to put it into something, and eventually it came out. But that was a problem for the organization to solve. And what it did is it made Apple a great company to work for, because you were solving problems that were bigger than yourself. And those problems were coming from leadership. So when John F. Kennedy declared a man to the moon, it was the same thing. It created a problem. When the founding fathers of this company declared independence, it created such a huge problem that people had to come together and unite. So we don't have problems. And yes, wars will do that for you. They will. But we need great men who are not afraid to create problems that are bigger than themselves. And in the case of John F. Kennedy, even after he died, his problem was still solved. We sent a man to the moon later. And I understand there are people who say we never went to the moon, but whether we went or not, what it did was created a culture and a country of unity. And that was in the face of hippies and revolting against Vietnam. So, yes, a common enemy seems to be an easy way to do it, but it creates dysfunction. Imagine you have a family, and the only way you and your family, you, your wife, and children can be united is if you're fighting with the neighbors. And when the neighbors move and you get great neighbors that come in, then you, your wife, and children are fighting. And the only way you're going to be better is to make this new great enemy, is to make them an enemy. I mean, this new great neighbor, if you make them an enemy, because you could manufacture something that they did something to your property, that becomes dysfunctional. So I hate to say it this way. After what I just said, I'm going to kind of conflict with what I just said. It would be in men's best benefit to unite and say, these are the things we want in our nation. These are the laws we want passed. These are laws that we want out of child support and alimony, and this is what we want in the workforce. This is the kind of country we want to be in. We're not excluding women at all. The best women we want working. There are other women who would be great as executive assistants. There are some women who would be great on assembly lines. There are places where women will actually be more efficient. We like female nurses. But if you're a doctor, and this is a problem we have in this country, these female doctors don't want to work the same hours as men. So that means we have to hire more doctors. It's almost like we have to hire 1.5 or 2 female doctors to do the work of one male doctor. That's going to drive up our healthcare costs. So as men, we need to start sitting back and looking at the culture and the economy and, how this is all affecting everyone here. We really can pass laws because that's the way the country is set up. It's set up for he who wants policies in place. You just have to be willing to pay the price, which is money. You pay the lobbyist. You make campaign contributions. The politicians are for sale. They are there to work on your behalf. Women have done it. That's what they've done. They use the system in their best interest. And so it doesn't matter. Like I said, Princeton did a study. It doesn't matter what policies the people, mainstream, the majority of people could want certain policies. It doesn't matter, because if big business doesn't want that policy, big business will pass the policies they want. So it's about hiring those lobbyists. It's about putting money behind certain candidates to make sure they do what you want, or putting the candidates in office that you want. Like someone like you, Tony G, you're a senator. and we come to you and say, hey, man, you know what policies we want passed. So we'll have the lobbyists write them up and we'll present them to you. And you need to go get some alliances with other senators and congressmen to make sure. You might have to do them some favors, but we need some new laws. We really can do this. I understand we've been sold the whole doomsday and just let it crash and burn. If we do that, China's going to come in and just take over, man. It's like a failed company. Someone buys you in a fire sale. And when they buy you, they get to say what's going to happen. But if it's a hostile takeover, like a war, they won't have much use for many of the men in this country aside from slavery. But China is looking to be a superpower. So if they do it without weapons and they do it with money and they buy us, start learning your Mandarin and be ready to be told that you're not man enough. That part of your income is related to your manliness. And maybe for some I sound extreme, but yes, Russian. Очень приятно познакомиться. Ni hao. The only other thing, Nani, period, good to see you in the house. Ni hen piao liang. Or you speak Russian, not Mandarin. Forgot, right? Look, women, one of the things that we may be witnessing is that women resent men for being less of a man. Hey, the big exclusive. Do you know who benefits? Women who want to marry other women. See, because if they can diminish your manhood and so see, think of it like this. As boys, as men, we relate to one another in a hierarchy. We do it in the playground, we do it on our sport teams. Hell, even in video games, right? But there's a hierarchy. We know, the toughest, the strongest, the smartest, the whatever ist. And we know if you're a top dog and you're second, third, that we know who we are. And that affects how we work together in the workforce. We understand that hierarchy even in the workforce, and we accept it. If we keep that hierarchy in place, women cannot compete. They cannot. They won't have the aggressiveness. They won't have the risk taking. This is not to diminish women. It's biologically, we are not the same. We have a biology that has us be more aggressive, that has us confront things and take risks that women generally don't take. You can just look at the amount of multimillionaires and billionaire women that have gone out and started entirely new industries. Doesn't exist. They've had the money for a long time. So if you can get rid of the hierarchies, then women can come in and compete and say it's a level playing field, and that there's no hierarchy and everyone gets a trophy. See, if you can get rid of the hierarchy, and so instead of having the team that wins get the trophy, everyone gets one. There's no hierarchy. We just finished the Olympics, right? Gold, silver, bronze. That's it. You get rid of the hierarchy, everyone gets a chance to have a medal. And that's what's happened. But if men go back to their natural way of being with one another in a hierarchy, then it becomes very difficult for women to compete in that environment. Uh, Yeah, we men seem to understand that that's what's happening because most men, no, young guys don't want to date older women to be serious. Now, I know it does happen. The president of France is married to a much older woman, and there are all kinds of outliers where it happens, but generally across the board, this 25-year-old guy isn't looking for a 40-year-old woman, especially if she's a single mother. So, guys, they understood and see it clear as bell. And aside from that, you're a younger guy taking on all these liabilities that this woman has. Children, even if I have my own children, my children are a liability. It's going to cost $250,000 from birth until age 18 to raise them. And that's taking $250,000 off the table, unless it's a child actor or, uh, you know, child prodigy that's has a job earning great income. But generally, children are a liability, even if it's your own. So having some other man's liability is not good. So men seem to clearly get that and understand. So men are looking. So how do we reverse this? Single motherhood is how we really got to where we are. So we understand there are lots of single mothers, and men are not going to choose them. So how do we get rid of that situation so we won't have to look at women as being target practice? Yeah, that'll take us on a slightly different. Um, the studies have been done. I think it was a Harvard report I read, and alpha does not mean a good leader. See, women are often looking for the wrong thing, and alpha is a temporary position. A leader is someone who's looking out for the best interest of the whole and taking you in a direction and you're pulling people up to be better. And alpha is not looking to pull people up. They're looking to just say, this is my way. The alphas don't make it very high in corporations. They get stuck. They have a ceiling. They're not always very open minded. So women who are looking for the alpha are really kind of miseducated and uneducated about the topic. They're listening to a radio station, and that radio station is just driving their behavior. So, guys, I do understand what you're asking, and it seems like this insurmountable barrier. And we keep saying that there are these simps out here who will get down on all fours and take it with the strap on. I understand that there are guys like that out there, but some of those guys have just been poorly educated about manhood. They just really have. Either their mother wore the pants. They didn't have a father in the home. But like I said, when the United States declared independence from Great Britain, it wasn't that they had 100% of the people who were part of the colony who wanted independence from Great Britain. It didn't rely on that. It was only 58 men that signed this Declaration of Independence. 58. So, anyway. I forgot about this article. Just before I close out, I'm not going to read the whole article, just going to show the highlights. So, this article is in Regain. Huh. Is it love? Why would a younger man be attracted to an older woman? Angelica Sean wrote it just this year, January of 2021. And the highlights are confident and successful women of various ages exist all over the world. So they're saying men like confident women. So the reasons they list, why are younger men attracted to older women? Here are a few reasons. They are attracted to their experience. 2, it speaks to their ego. So I guess when a younger man can attract and appeal to an older woman, it speaks to his ego. It makes him feel a sense of accomplishment. That's what they're telling us. We feel accomplished by getting an older woman. Number 3, it gives them more time to grow. Interesting. 4, the value of transparency. I talked about how I was able to be transparent and very matter of fact. 5, they appreciate the emotional stability. Not always the fact, though. There are lots of women who are older who are a mess. They demonstrate extreme confidence. That's 6. Number 7, they love their energy. Number 8, older women are in control. Number 9, this is it. Men actually admire a woman. Okay, men actually admire a woman that pursues them. And this is something that will be typically done by an older woman. Older women see what they want and they go after it. It's the cougar mentality that initializes most relationships when the man is younger. So think about that. So women are going after what they want. And perhaps that's ultimately what has happened here, what you guys were asking. If we want to get rid of the single mothers and men taking a stand. So women were told they could go after what they want. They could do anything they want. Anything was possible. And they can do whatever a man can do, and they can do it better than a man. This is what women were told day after day, year after year for decades. And men were told, if you stand up against a woman, you're a misogynist, you're a sexist. See, men were told exactly the opposite, or kind of left out there just to hang. So while women were told you can do it, men were told if you do it, you hate women. You should not want to do anything that slows a woman down. Women should be able to do anything, even if they're not good at it. They should be given the same opportunity as men, even if the man is better at it. It's unfair to not give her the opportunity just because she's not performing as well as a man. That's sexism. Just because you don't perform as well as a man, that's sexism. Well, we should want the best person for the job. So what I'm getting at, guys, is women were told to go after it and get it, and you were not. And so some of the questions, some of the thoughts men have are on that radio station telling men that you don't deserve it. Your fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers had it all, and you should just step aside and let women have it now because women can do better. Well, we look at what's happened with the single mother household, and it's been a disaster. And if you read any historical studies, they will tell you that whenever you had a woman sitting on a throne as a queen without the king, that kingdom was more likely to engage in war than a kingdom that had a king on a throne, with or without a queen. Women were more likely to go to war. So we've been lied to about how women are less likely to fight. No, the studies show historically over time, whenever there was a queen on a throne without a king, she was more likely to go to war. War is big business. So if you don't know how to make your economy work, you find a war and you pick on someone you know you can win, and you take their stuff, and you are a victor. And you notice when a queen sends people out to fight, they don't send an army of women, they send men out. See, if you took men off, women wouldn't have any. There's zero. If you took men out the United States would have zero power. The United States has power because there are men here. This is something men cannot forget. Always love your support. Thank you for the super sticker, Nanny. Good to see you in the house. I know you came a little late, but the guys like having you here too. All right, Tony G. I think the question is, can a single cougar mother be reformed if she display bad behavior, or is it a lost cause? That's a really good question. And I would say that would be a matter of transformation. And think of transformation like the alchemist. So one of the rumors was that alchemists knew how to transform lead into gold. And the way they did that, they had to have tools, right? So, of course, they had lead, and they had to have a flame that was so hot, it was a white hot flame. That's a really hot flame. And they had to have this white substance that was very difficult to come by. So I think you had to reach a certain height in your studies of alchemy before someone would give you that white substance. So now you have your lead, you have your white flame, and you engage that lead in the flame and you apply that white substance around it. Those are your tools. And literally what you do is you burn off all the lead properties of the lead. You kill it off, you burn it off, you destroy it, you completely disrupt its makeup. And when you destroy and burn off all the lead properties, what's left is the essence of the metal. It's gold. Those were the rumors of how alchemists transformed lead into gold. But you needed the proper tools. So I'm saying that to say this. That's literally what you would have to do with a single cougar mother to be reformed. All the lead properties, the radio station, the mindset that she's inherited would have to be burned off. And it would have to be someone who has the tools that could guide her through that journey, because on multiple occasions, when she starts that journey, she's going to want to turn around and say, I don't want to do this. This doesn't resonate. This doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive. She'll want to back out. So she's going to need someone to hold her hand and walk her through the valley. What is it? The valley or the shadow of darkness, right? So that she can acquire the tools with her guide who's imparting them. And she's learning how to burn off all the lead properties to kill off that radio station so that she has the essence of herself, which is has nothing to do with what women are being taught today. So yes, she could be reformed, and it would take that kind of work. That technically that would be for anyone, even if you're a drug addict or an alcoholic. But it's a commitment to work that most people don't want to commit to. That's funny. Nani, I think you're referring to my analogy of the alchemist. I think so. It confirmed that, yes. The big exclusive. Well, what would be interesting? Imagine being trained to be an alchemist. Imagine acquiring the tools. So think of it this way. So you could go train to learn to use a computer, and you could be damn good at using that computer. And you could show other people how to use it because you've been trained to use it. Or you can be trained how to build a computer. And when you build a computer, you know more about the computer than the guy who was trained to use it. So the guy who was trained to use it will use everything based on what he can see. But if you're trained to build it, you will understand algorithmic sequences that exist that you can't see, and you'll know how to put together certain sequences to make the computer do things that you actually had no idea it could do. So if you could be trained to be an alchemist that could cause that kind of transformation with people in your life, you'd be pretty powerful. Yes. No matter how it's spelled, the big exclusive, it's magic. Majuk or magic. Chaos magic is what some people may call it. But you really could, man. It's a very different mindset. So, sticking with the analogy, you learn to use the computer, you learn to build them. They're different animals, different mindset, and different capacities to move their way around a computer. If you learn to build them, even if you didn't build the computer, you would be able to interact with computers very differently than people who use them very well. So, going through transformation for your personal self would be analogous to trained to use the computer. Being trained to transform others is learning to build computers. Like, you could dismantle a computer and put it back together and have it be more powerful than it was before you dismantled it. That could be done. That I can do also. My book was the book I wrote is really about transformation. It's, I talk about transformation and transforming that radio station. I literally talk about that. And it may not make sense to people that initially hear it, but if you go back to my analogy of the alchemist transforming lead into gold, you'll hear that when I talk about how to get rid of the radio station. It's not what you would call a walk in a park. So. Well, that would be interesting. So would I have to bring on a live example? Would I have to bring a person or two people? Like, how does that work? And so this goes, all right, actually the new future video topic, actually that opens the door to add to the conversation I was saying. So I said, guys, that I didn't say it this way, but all the things around us, whether it's culture, everything around us was created in a conversation, right? Someone started a conversation about creating a smartphone you can hold in the palm of your hand, right? That plays music. You can make calls, you can send texts, like all this, so many things you can do with this. It started by someone saying it, talking about it. It was a conversation, and that conversation shaped people's actions until you had something that's workable. So it's the same thing in society. So if society tells men to get into their feminine side, that happened because someone created that conversation. Look at what China's doing. They created a new conversation that said anything that shows men in a less than powerful position is removed from the media. That's only someone said it. It's a conversation. And now, as China, as a nation, their actions are being shaped by that. No longer will they display men in the media as being weak, all because of a conversation. You've got to get the power of conversation, the power of what you think to yourself. See, as men, we've been told that we're bad and wrong and we're horrible and we're oppressive. We've protected women forever. We don't send women to the front line. We don't tell women they have to work in the deadly jobs. We go do it. We don't put, there's so many things we protect women from. And if there's danger, what do we say? Women and children go first. They get out. Look at the Titanic. Any examples, articles, videos? Actually, the big exclusive, I actually did, I did 2 videos with a woman who used to live with me. And one of the videos I did was about, um, the subject matter was about how your friends and family can destroy your relationship. Like it third party interference, how you can let people outside of your relationships, you let them in and they can damage your relationship. And that's what happened with she and I. So I made a video so she could talk about specifically about how she let someone uh, convince her to hurt her own relationship. I did a second video with her. She read my book, and I did a video and she talked about what she got out of it. But transformation. When I did these Fridays initially with YouTube and Chill, I had a woman who came on, and it would be interesting to have her come back because she has a very different mindset, and you could say that I somewhat put her brain into a white hot flame. And it's very interesting to hear her conversations now compared to, let's say, 18 months ago. I hear her talk in some of the rooms in Clubhouse and some of the things that she says. It's very interesting to hear. Goes against the mindset of what most women have, and she's very good at getting women to not attack her generally. I mean, I'm sure it happens sometimes, but so maybe it'd be a good idea to do something with her. Someone did interview me on my podcast more, maybe more than a year ago. Uh, I don't think it was a live stream. It was only a podcast. I think it's called Interview with Ted Santos, something like that. And it's in Blog Talk Radio. You'd find it. Straight Talk with Ted Santos. I don't remember. Maybe a year ago that happened. Good question, Nani. On October, October 10th. I need to confirm it. October 10th, I'm going to do a show just talking about my book with some people who have read it. Well, yeah, if we, the joke is if we make China big exclusive, if China becomes an enemy and we want to fight them, we would have to borrow a lot of money to go to war with China. And guess who we'd have to borrow the money from? China. We'd have to borrow money from China to fight, to have a war with China. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, yeah. Um, Maybe some regrets, but yes, not only did she uh, do a video, she did more than one video with me. So, and she has said quite a few times that she knows she messed up. So that's something she has to live with, not me. So It's always good for people to make their move. If you're going to let other people make decisions in your relationship, you're most likely not qualified for me. You know, if I have other people making decisions in my relationship, then let me know who they are, because maybe I need to be having sex with them too. So give me my harem. Thank you, Nani. Thank you for that. So, warrior risk, buddy. So, we started off talking about our older women, our older single mothers, good target practice for younger men. It seems most men see it that way. It's a harsh reality for a lot of women. They may not want to hear it, but for those women who are not single mothers, you want to keep it that way. It betters your chance to be able to get that quality guy. If you heard me talk about what alchemists do in transforming lead into gold, even if you're not a single mother, hell, even if you're married, happily married, it's something you still want to look at. Developing a mindset that helps you build healthy relationships and at work, love, and play is to your best interest. Our society drops so many things in the form of conversations. They do it through music, you do it through movies and books, your education. There's so many ways the lead gets dropped on us, and we don't learn how to burn it off and get rid of it. We just learn how to live with it. It's almost like we learn to live with one leg. They cut your leg off and you just hop around and say, I'm happy, I'm so happy, I'm happy, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And you see others running around with two legs, and you have to work out how to get around with one leg. That's what all that stuff is like. It impedes us, our progress. It's like the difference of running with two legs or running with one leg, that so much lead is dumped on you. So a commitment to burn off that lead and transform is in everyone's best interest, even if you are in a happy relationship. Yeah, the algorithm hasn't picked me up, and I probably have put too many words in my titles that has YouTube not put me into the algorithms. I mean, they have put me in before, and then, like you saw, I had Dr. Phil. They shut down my show temporarily until I stopped showing Dr. Phil. So I use words that they don't like, and they catch those. So there are lots of things that I do that has me not get thrown into the algorithms the way you would expect. But the other way to do it is you smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe and hit the bell. Share the video. I mean, that's ultimately, it's those of us who have this understanding and who really are looking to understand what's going on and what could be done about it, and have a little fun and deal with some controversy. It's you who share that and give people other perspectives. I've had people come into my show because someone shared my videos with them. So I depend on you guys. I depend on all of your support and the comments you make and the questions you ask. And hell, many of you give me great topics to discuss. So I thank you. So if you're a single father, you've also made poor decisions. You impregnated someone, unless she lied to you and said she was on birth control, or she took your sperm and out of a condom. But if you impregnated this woman, you did not properly vet the woman for compatibility, and you allowed yourself to impregnate her. So single fathers generally do better than single mothers. The children are more stable. But still, as a single parent, you have to be responsible. You can choose whether a woman gets pregnant, unless she lies to you and tells you she's on birth control and she's not, or she does some other thing. I mean, there are women who will try and get pregnant on purpose. I've seen that. That is a concern, and as a man, you can't just be there like, oh, I was just in such ecstasy, I couldn't do anything. I mean, if you're going to use this pull-out method, man, you have to be sharp with that. You gotta you can't play around with that. I mean, bringing children into a world is a responsibility. It's not a joke. So being a single father, you have something to do with that. Whether you married or you didn't marry the woman, I don't encourage it. And there are some men out there who do. Now there are some men who hire surrogates, and that they're intentionally. I understand that, and I would say, what's in the best interest of the child is to have two parents. It really is. It's just much better to have a mother and a father. That missing parent, even if they die, it creates emotional trauma. And has some levels of abandonment for the child growing up, not having a parent there. So it's not in the child's best interest. And we keep doing this for generations. Who knows what the long-term effects? We're going to end up being a very weak and feeble civilization. Things don't go your way, you just fall apart and you go into the fetal position. Not a very powerful society. So, guys, I'm going to bring this to a close. Great questions, always love it. Love seeing everyone in the house. Share my video. If you haven't liked it, like it. Love your comments. Appreciate the support. My Super Chat and Cash App are in there. If you'd like to contribute, I would greatly appreciate. I'll be back on Sunday with Straight Talk with another topic. And until then, have a great weekend. Thanks a lot. And I'll see everyone soon. Good night. Goodbye. Or good morning if you're somewhere else. Bye.